Sup everyone, welcome to my second Honkai video, and this one is going to be a lot more extensive than the first one. This is officially my first kind of introduction video for you guys into the game of Honkai Star Rail. This video is aimed at those who are looking to get a slight head start on the game in terms of game knowledge and systems. As you may all know, when it comes to gacha RPGs, they each have their own charm, and most of them share a similar structure with each other, but with a slight twist here and there. Honkai Star Rail is no different when it comes to this rule. So in this video, I will be introducing you to the systems at play within the game of Honkai Star Rail up to the most recent beta test. So let's start with something that most people will be familiar with, and that's the gacha system. In the game of Honkai Star Rail, they pretty much copy and pasted Genshin Impact summoning structure with a 90 hard pity for characters and a soft pity that starts at 75 summons. So this may be a little confusing. For those who have never played Genshin Impact. So basically in the game, you will be guaranteed to have a 5-star character if you summon up to 90 summons. However, starting from your 75th summon, you will be getting an increased chance at obtaining a 5-star. So that's what the soft pity means. It doesn't mean you can get it or guarantee it. It just means the chances of you getting it starts to increase by quite a lot, actually. In fact, it increases by so much that I don't think I've ever really seen hard, solid proof of somebody having to actually reach 90 summons. Now, of course, those people are out there and I know they exist, but to me personally, I have not ever reached 90 summons, and I have spent like $5,000–6,000 in Genshin Impact. Never once hit 90 summons. I've got to 84 or 83. I think that was the most I have ever reached. So just to give you guys a bit of reference, right? The 75 soft pity is a very important starting point when the chance of you getting a 5-star character drastically increase. Now, this is actually one of the most redeeming qualities when it comes to the gacha system for Genshin Impact, so I'm super happy they decided to implement this into Honkai Star Rail. Now, while we're on the topic of familiar systems, let's move forward into the artifact system, or as in Honkai they call it, the Relic System, right? So I'm sure you guys can see the glaring similarities here, artifacts, relics, but the main difference with the Relic System is that there will be no off-piece. What does that mean? So for Genshin Impact players, you may be familiar with running a 4-piece set and a flex piece to boost your stats with, but in Honkai, relics comes in 4-piece sets and then a further 2-piece sets, so meaning that there will be a total of 6 slots and no flex slot available for players. So you better get your grind pants on, because farming for the perfect set just got a lot more important. But do not worry, there will be an item which allows you to exchange for the artifact of your choosing, but to do so you would have to sacrifice 10 artifacts of the same tier grade. On top of this though, once per BP cycle, the battle pass, right, which is the seasonal pass kind of thing, every gacha game has it, just call it BP for short. Okay, so once per BP cycle, which usually is like per patch, it follows however long the patch is, everyone will be able to obtain a special item that could allow you to choose the main stat and specific set piece for your relic piece. So what this item does is basically out of the entire set, you get to choose exactly which piece. So the one you're missing is, let's say, your like headpiece or whatever, and you want the headpiece and you want the main stat to be, like HP or attack or crit or whatever the hell you want, and you get to choose that. This is very important. Now obviously this doesn't also allow you to choose a substat, because then Holyverse is lost on a potential hundreds of dollars, right? But this is a very important item. Now this was available in the CPT3, so do not be alarmed if this ends up becoming a paid feature on release, depending on how greedy Holyverse is feeling, as I'm sure whales wouldn't hesitate to swipe to get one step ahead of the game. So meaning that now it's currently available for all players through the BP, but what if they decide to put it into the paid BP reward section? So hey, I'm not giving them any ideas. I would love for it to be in the free-to-play BP, because personally I've been wanting to play a free-to-play account. So again, don't get mad at me if this item ends up becoming a paid BP reward. I'm just saying it, Holyverse just wants more money, right? But anyways, moving on, let's talk a little bit about the endgame content for Honkai Star Rail, because very juicy stuff. People love endgame. So for those people watching these kind of guide videos and head start videos, you guys likely will be progressing through the game at lightning speed. You will reach endgame in no time, truly in no time. So how is Honkai Star Rail's endgame content? Well, for starters, I have some good news, right? Honkai Star Rail will likely roll out 2 endgame features right from the get-go. The first and more familiar one is called Forgotten Hall, which is the Spiral Abyss equivalent of the endgame for Honkai Star Rail. It will give you certain mob setups as challenges and rewards you based on how efficient you can clear the content. This is when you really have to take advantage of the weakness mechanic in the game to speed up your runs. We'll talk about weaknesses a little later in the video. For now, allow me to introduce to you the second endgame content in the game, known as the Simulated Universe. Wow, what an expansive and grandiose name, but don't worry, this is basically like your roguelike mode. Incredible that they decided to have this in the game as a permanent feature from the get-go. So this is a mode where you go in and kill virtually generated enemies. As you kill the enemies, you will gain blessings, which are powerful buffs to your characters, and as you make your way through the simulated universe, you collect these buffs and push through. So far, the simulated universe gives you Herda bonds, and they can be exchanged for rewards at the exchange shop. Herda collector coins may also be earned and can be inserted into the coin gacha machine or for random rewards as well. So do your simulated universe runs. I'm sure in the beginning these two endgame contents will feel like, wow, I have so much to do, this game is so enriched with content. But maybe after, I don't know, a year, 2 years, the simulated universe may start to feel like a chore. I mean, unless Hoyoverse puts a new twist to it. But yeah, great for start of the game. It's going to generate a lot of hype and excitement for the players. But with all this out of the way now, we can finally talk about another important aspect of the game, which is combat. Now, how does combat work in this game? It is a turn-based RPG, so what are some of the things you guys need to look out for? This is where some people may get confused, so I'm gonna keep it simple for you guys, right? Because this is a rudimentary entry level video. In Honkai Star Rail, there are 7 elements and there are 7 classes. So let's go over the 7 elements first. The elements are physical, fire, ice, wind, lightning, quantum, and imaginary. And no, imaginary isn't something I made up. The irony is that it's very real and actually not imaginary. But anyways, the importance of these elements comes in the form of weaknesses. So each enemy will have elements that they are weak to, and exploiting these weaknesses will be crucial to clearing the content successfully. The later into the game you go, the more important in fact is to understanding weakness structure. This is also Hoyoverse's way to get you all to invest and build a ton of different characters, so to assure that you can clear content efficiently. But let's go over each weakness right here. So what happens when you engage an enemy by exploiting their weakness is that the enemies are stunned for 1 round and they take increased damage. The status effect of the element which triggered the weakness will be applied to the enemies, and depending on what element was applied, additional debuffs for the enemies will take place. So let's start with physical, right? Physical will apply the bleed effect, which causes physical damage to be dealt over time. The fire element will apply the burn effect, which is fire damage over time. Wind element applies shear, and you guessed it, applies wind damage over time. Lightning is shock and then lightning damage over time. Ice will apply freeze, which on top of the 1 turn stun will deal ice damage over time. Quantum stuns and deal damage over time. Imaginary is the only one that actually does not deal damage over time, but it rather delays enemies' turns, which in a turn-based RPG game could be very, very important. Now, yes, imaginary is the only one that doesn't deal damage, but yeah, it'd be interesting to play around with this turn delay, and maybe in some teams this can become crucial in potentially setting up a double turn for your team and actually clearing the content faster. I would say this is going to be more so used in some cheese strategies, but we'll leave that to the theory crafters. So now that you know about elements, let's move into classes, or paths as some will refer to them as. In the game, there are also, like I mentioned, 7 classes or paths, and all units are paired with 1 element and 1 class. Okay, so starting from the top, we have Destruction, which is an all-rounder DPS that can do AoE and single target. Sounds pretty good. However, I wouldn't be so sure as of now, because there are some insane dedicated units. Just like Genshin Impact, the more dedicated a unit is, usually the better they are, because to overcompensate for the fact that they can only do this one thing, they kind of balance them out to be quite strong. Okay, so moving into the second class, which is Hunt, and it's a single target DPS class. So Sealy, which is going to be the first rate up limited character, will be of the Hunt class. which means she will be a single target DPS. Erudition, which will be the AoE class path. Now the new character that is also coming in the first patch being Qing Yuan, he will be Erudition AoE DPS unit. So once Seely's banner ends, that's when Qing Yuan's banner will arrive. So they're both going to be limited characters and only available for now in the first patch. I'll have videos for both of these units and their pull value out later, so subscribe and stay tuned for that. Moving on, now we have Harmony, which is the buffer class. Followed by that, we have Nihility, which is going to be the debuff class. Abundance are the healers, and Preservation are your defensive supports or tanks, right? Each class will have their charm and reasons to be played and used in different battles and team compositions. So you will want to familiarize your preferred playstyle and build a team around that. So this concludes the video, right? With this, you have a decent enough understanding of the basics for Honkai Star Rail. With this, you can start the game a little more confident than before. I will continue to put out Honkai Star Rail videos for your consumption needs. So until the next one, I urge y'all to stay safe and peace.